What have you seen so far if you've looked at Houston much? Obviously their record's really good, and they just had the one loss to Minnesota.
Yeah, I just started diving into Houston. Certainly, offensively, they got a lot of great players. I think their offense is a lot different too when Mixon's back. He ripped off a couple of long runs yesterday, and you can just the physicality with which he runs the football is different than most. So he'll be a big challenge. I think C.J. Stroud he is as talented as anybody, and he's got a lot of weapons to throw to. So I think Bobby Slowick does a really good job with that offense. just, study them throughout the course of the off season. And so they got a lot of weapons. I know Nico's down, who I think is one of the best receivers in the league. But I still think it's a very explosive offense. It's capable of putting up a lot of points and yards. And then defensively, what strikes me is just their style of play, how hard and fast they get off the ball. Will Anderson, he's a force. They got Hunter there now, but collectively as a unit, I think the whole D-line does a great job. And like I said, I'm just kind of getting into them now, but it's one of the, just statistically, just looking at the numbers, it's one of the top-ranked defenses in the league right now. I think they're top 5 in most of the categories, so it'll be a great challenge for us.
You mentioned their pass rushers. How have you thought Rashid and Zach will perform on the edges of the take on those guys this week?
You're talking about last game?
Well, just in general.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we need to clean up, just from a fundamental and technique standpoint.
What are the key components of a vision-based defense, and how does that help you make plays in the passing game?
Well, anytime you have vision on the quarterback, you can kind of read his eyes and see where he's going to go with the ball. But I also think it's just a style of play in terms of how you attack the football, getting multiple hats at the ball carrier, whoever that may be. And so, and just being conscious of making a concerted effort to punch at the ball, which I think our guys are doing a pretty good job of.
There's a stat that this is the first time since realignment in 2002 that 4 teams in the same division have all won at least 4 games in the first 6 weeks. When you look at what the NFC, I know your schedule's kind of wonky. You've only played one division opponent.
Wonky?
Yeah, wonky.
Okay.
Weird.
Right.
What do you see when you look at this division right now? I know you got still 2 more out of division games before you even see one again. But
I mean, yeah. The only team we've really studied this year is Minnesota, but certainly you see the early game yesterday, watching Chicago do what they did, and having a familiarity with them. Looks like they're starting to get the offense going now, and that defense is one of the best defenses in the league. And then you look at what Detroit did last night, so you do get a chance to see these teams compete. And Detroit's they're loaded in every phase, and so yeah, I just think there's a lot of good teams in our division right now, so it'll get interesting once we all start playing each other.
Do you look at the standings?
No.
When do you start? Does it matter at all? Is it just week to week?
I think it's week to week. You just focus on the task at hand, and right now we got a team that's 5-1 coming into our place. So if we're worried about anything other than the Houston Texans, then we're worried about the wrong thing.
Going back to the Texans, it seemed like everyone around the league last year wanted to make the comparison between Love and Stroud. I'm just curious, what do you see with those 2 guys? Are they more similar, disalike? What do you see?
I just think they're young quarterbacks that are capable of making all the throws, and but that's probably a better question for somebody else than me. I don't sit there and study CJ like that. I haven't until this is our first chance of going against him. But I do have a lot of respect for him and what he was able to do a year ago, and just to be able to come into the league as a young player and put up the type of numbers that he did and lead them, into the playoffs. I think that was pretty impressive.
You mentioned all the playmakers they have on offense too around him. Do they remind you a little bit of yourselves in that way when you turn on the film?
I don't try to avoid the comparisons, but I just know they have a lot of great players that have been doing it at a high level for a long time. I think Nico Collins he's established himself as one of the best in the league. I think Diggs has been doing it for a really long time. Robert Woods, I was with Robert in L.A., a while back, and you still see the same style of play that he had back then that made him so good. So there's and then got a guy like Tank Dell, and they just got a lot of good playmakers.
How did you think Jordan Morgan looked in his first game back and getting in that rotation with Sean?
Yeah, there were some good things. I think there's a lot that he needs to clean up, and It looked like a guy that hadn't played football for a while, and that's just part of it. And he's a young player. He's only going to get better. So I think it's still important to get him in there. But, yeah, there's certainly some room for improvement.
Now, would Alex Hale be ready if you guys were to want to go that route, or is he not ready yet?
Potentially.
Considering a move this week at kicker?
I wouldn't say that right now, no.
Matt, what's the status with Dante Wicks and his shoulder? Do you feel like it's something that's going to be a long-term thing, or?
I don't believe so, but we'll give him through the week and see where he's at. I just know it's always a concern when you have a player that can't go back in the game.
You've talked a ton of times about what a different offense you have when Christian is healthy. I mean, that was a 6-time Pro Bowl safety that he did that to yesterday, right? I mean, just to get him back and now to kind of ramp him back up again, how much is that going to mean to you guys?
Yeah, I think just his ability to stretch a field is, definitely gives us an advantage. So you better account for wherever he is because he's got legit home run speed.
What did you think of your run game yesterday after you looked at it on tape?
Thought there was a lot of muddy, tough yards. I thought our backs ran really hard. I thought, they did a good job. You got to give them credit. I think that they made a concerted effort to try to stop our run game. I told you, like, some of the looks they give you with those 3 safety looks, and they got a lot of big bodies inside. I mean, they were pretty big defensive line, and they put 5 across. So it's a challenge to, get big holes and get gashes in the run game. But I thought our backs ran hard. I thought our receivers and tight ends and everybody were blocking hard. But I also think that, we can do some things fundamentally a little bit better to help give us maybe try to cut a guy out of a gap or whatever it may be, especially in our zone schemes where we could get more yardage.
Going back to the kicking, I know that you have confidence in Braden, he's going to make his next kick, but it hasn't happened to this point where it's been consistent. At what point does that become a problem where you have to do something about it?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll take it day by day.
Matt, you fielded a lot of questions about Romeo last week and a half. I'm curious about the other side of that. Like, what did you find out about Jordan, Christian especially, how supportive he was, and then you saw how they reacted to him yesterday? Like, did you find out, or did they confirm anything about the character of your football team in terms of the way they handled the distraction and the way they handled a teammate that maybe they could have been, ticked off at?
Yeah, I think our guys, they're going to support one another, and they should. They spent a lot of time together, and like I said, it's just like anything in life. If you have a issue or whatever, something goes on within your family, it's not like you just disown your family. You're going to find a way to work through it, and I'm proud of our guys and everybody collectively, Rome, everybody just kind of finding a way to work through it, and I think that's behind us now.
What ways have you seen Carl Brooks kind of step up here in the 2 weeks you haven't had Devontae to kind of fill out that rotation on the D-line?
Yeah, I think just the effort that he gives you every time, every down. Certainly, he's made an impact too. Made some key plays a week ago. Made a key play yesterday in terms of on that screen punching that ball out. I mean, that was a critical play. So I think he just continues to develop and get better and better and better, and we certainly need that right now.
I know hindsight's 20/20. It looks great right now, and there's a lot of season left. But is this what you envisioned when you brought Jeff Hafley in with all the turnovers and everything that has seemingly gone right the last couple weeks and this entire season?
Yeah, you always envision success, but it's one thing to envision it. You got to make it come to life. And I think Haf's just he's a great football mind. He's a great person, a hell of a communicator, and I think it's not just one guy. Certainly, I think it's important for that coordinator to kind of set the vision for that side of the ball, and he does a great job with that. But it's how collectively everybody comes together, and that's players and coaches, everybody all is one.
And your players were telling us that they were making a concerted effort more at OTAs and training camp of getting the ball and taking it away. Could you see that, leading up to the season?
Yeah, they did a great job. I think we had a lot of turnovers offensively throughout the course of training camp, and so it's a double-edged sword when it's happening in practice. It's great for the defense, bad for the offense, but I still think our guys just they're very mindful of it, and we stress it, and we drill it, but ultimately they gotta make it happen.
Keep bringing up this ball meeting on Thursday. Can you shed any light? Did you just show film of takeaways?
Every week's a little bit different, Rob. So this is not anything like crazy out of the ordinary. I've been other places where we would do this, but half wanted to have it happen this year consistently, because we always kind of talk about it, show clips at the end of the week, typically on a Friday. Connor Lewis does a great job. He gets up and shows clips from around the league, whether it's just rules or different emphasis from officials, and then also just great clips of guys, punching the ball out, whatever it may be. But we've kind of this year had a different presenter each week, and it's been a defensive coach thus far, where they get up and they really show whatever they want to show, but typically it's pretty specific in who we're playing, and maybe stuff that's come up from previous weeks. Great examples of us being mindful of the ball where we're attacking it, and maybe some instances where we could have done a better job with it, both offensively and defensively. So I just think it just reinforces the emphasis behind the ball.
Is there something tangibly different than the past with takeaways, or do you just see it as kind of a hot streak, like when a team gets really hot at the plate in baseball or basketball?
Well, I think there's a lot of variables when it comes down to it. I think we've got we've added some key players that have definitely made a significant difference, I would say, on that side of the ball. I mean, anytime you add a guy like X, and I think you see guys like Evan Williams has done a really good job of being mindful, and he had a heck of a punch out. That was like clinic real. So it's a combination, I think, of just not only drilling it and emphasizing it, but also having players that are capable of taking that message and then applying it.
4 wins this season that could all be kind of described as adversity wins, 2 without your starting quarterback the last 2 weeks with the Romeo situation. That's a lot to go through in 6 weeks. What have you learned about your guys and your locker room, what you have kind of going through those things?
Yeah, I think it's just so important that you focus on what's right in front of you. And there's a lot of things that are outside of your control as an individual, but what you can control just in terms of your preparation and how you attack the field, the effort that you give, all those little things are so critical, and I think our guys believe that, and they're buying into that, and they embody that.
Cooper took a big jump in snaps.
They didn't want to listen to 2 more. Okay.
Cooper took a big jump in snaps. I guess what did you think of the trajectory to get him to that on Sunday, and then what do you think he did with his opportunity?
Yeah, I think he's coming along. He's getting better and better each and every week. You always see him make splash plays, and there's still some mental mistakes that we've got to clean up, whether it's misalignments or whatnot. But you tend to go through that with younger players. But I'm excited about just the growth that we've seen over the course of the last few weeks, and anticipate him just becoming a better player the more reps he gets. You gotta ask my boss.
You have talked about competition since the moment you got here, and I'm sure a lot of coaches do. But like the fact that Keyshawn can rise to the occasion, and now he's playing outside for you when that wasn't necessarily his role, right? Like you're rewarding guys that compete, and then how much does that do for a team? That, hey, we don't just pay lip service to competition. Like if you do the job, Evan's going to play more because he's earning it. Like what does that do for you guys as a team?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I wouldn't say that Keyshawn rises. I think he always sinks to the level of his preparation. So he prepares the right way is what my point is. I just think it gives guys hope You know, that if I go out and do the things that we're asking of you, that there's hope that no matter what the depth chart looks like, that you can climb that depth chart and compete for playing time. And, you know, we're not afraid to play a lot of different guys. And I think that ultimately that serves us well in the long run, because there's some unforeseen things that happen in this league and that are totally out of our control. And so you got to get as many guys playing as possible, because you just never know. We have that next man up mentality, but you never know when that's going to occur. And so you can't take it for granted. These guys got to get ready to play ball. And I do think just kind of, if they feel like they have a chance to continue and crack and get into the lineup, then I think you're going to get better effort from them.
Like, you've been in the league a long time, like a lot of times, you know, Sean Ryan, for example, has he done anything that he doesn't deserve to be playing all the snaps, right? But you want to get Jordan Morgan opportunities, he's earned them too. It just feels like in past years, with past coaches and other teams, like once you're the starter, unless you just are really bad, you're not losing your starting job. Is it? Do you think it's different what you're doing, or am I wrong?
Well, I've been other places where we've done similar things. I just think right now, I think it speaks to the depth of our football team, quite frankly, and we have a lot of people that we believe in that can go out there and do the job, and that's a good problem to have, right?
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.